It was supposed to be a coronation. Paige Bueckers, the golden girl of women's basketball, walked into the WNBA with the media already declaring her the next big thing, the heir to Caitlin Clark's throne. For months, headlines were written, as if her greatness was a guarantee, as if her future was carved in stone. ESPN analysts and sports writers pushed the narrative endlessly. Paige is the one. Paige is different. Paige is already surpassing Clark. But then came the night that stripped all of that away against the Seattle Storm. Paige Bueckers wasn't just challenged, she was exposed. Her polished numbers crumbled in real time. Her smooth percentages dissolved under real defensive pressure. Her hype was left in ashes for the first time. Fans got to see Paige treated the way Caitlin Clark has been treated since the day she stepped into the league, and the truth hit hard. There is no next Caitlin Clark. There is Caitlin Clark, and then there's everybody else. Every sport has its crown jewel. For women's basketball, Caitlin Clark became that jewel the second. She entered the WNBA. Her rookie year wasn't just impressive, it was revolutionary. She sold out arenas, shattered attendance records, boosted TV ratings, and brought a global spotlight to a league that had long been searching for its breakout star. And yet, almost immediately, the machine went to work. The media, desperate for stories, desperate for rivalries, desperate for ratings, began looking for a challenger, someone to frame as her equal, someone to sell as her successor. Enter Paige Bueckers. She had the perfect resume for it. A former college sensation, a smooth shooter, a poised guard with the look of a superstar. Analysts flooded timelines with comparisons. Headlines were written with bold claims. Clark lit the spark, but Paige will carry the torch. It sounded good on paper. It gave fans something to debate, something to argue about, something to anticipate. But beneath the gloss, something was missing. To understand why Paige's collapse was so glaring, you have to understand what Caitlin Clark endured. From the moment she stepped on a WNBA court, she was treated differently. Not just as a rookie, but as a target. Defenders didn't just guard her. They chased her, trapped her, doubled and tripled her. They fouled her hard and often. They elbowed, shoved, and grabbed. 17% of all flagrant fouls in the 2024 season were committed. Against Caitlin Clark alone, think about that. One player absorbing nearly a fifth of the league's most violent fouls. This wasn't basketball as usual. This was a trial by fire. And instead of breaking, Clark thrived. She scored nearly 20 points per game, dished out over 8 assists, and dragged the Indiana Fever from basement dwellers to playoff contenders. She wasn't just playing basketball, she was surviving a storm. And she was doing it while still delivering highlight reels, game winners, and jaw-dropping threes from distances that most players wouldn't dare attempt. Paige Bueckers' rookie journey couldn't have been more different. Drafted by the Dallas Wings, she was welcomed with open arms, hyped as the future of the league before she had even played a full season. Every stat she posted was dissected and celebrated. Her shooting percentages were paraded as proof of her Polish, as if efficiency alone could define greatness. Her early 40-point outburst against the Sparks was treated like a coronation, a signal that the WNBA had found its next generational talent. Headlines screamed about her smoothness, her court vision, her inevitable But here's the catch. Defenses weren't guarding her like Clark. She wasn't facing relentless pressure, double teams, or the physical intimidation that has defined Clark's rookie years. Paige was allowed to roam freely, to find mid-spots with ease, to coast off soft coverage, while still stacking impressive box scores. Analysts swooned over her efficiency, painting her as ready, polished, and the complete package. Efficiency only matters if it holds up under pressure. And for Paige, that test had yet to come. Until the Seattle Storm game, that's when reality hit, the lights got brighter, defenders closed in, and suddenly the margin for error evaporated. For the first time, Paige faced the gauntlet. She had been shielded from man. The results were stark. Against the Seattle Storm, the illusion shattered. Coach Noel Quinn laid it out clearly before the game. We're going to see if Paige can handle the Caitlin Clark treatment. Spoiler, she couldn't. Everywhere she went, Seattle defenders were waiting. They blitzed her on the perimeter, trapped her off the dribble, bodied her on cuts. Driving lanes vanished. Jump shots were contested. Passing windows slammed shut before she could even see them. Paige looked uncomfortable, hesitant, and overwhelmed. The box score told the story. 11 points. Not a rough night, not a slump, a total collapse. For months, the media had painted Paige as Clark's superior, more poised, more efficient, more ready. But under Clark-Lavelle defense, she didn't just stumble, she folded. And suddenly, the debate wasn't Paige versus Caitlin anymore. It was Paige versus the truth that highlight reels and soft defenses had hidden. The truth that hype can't stand when tested by fire. The Bueckers hype machine thrived on numbers. Her shooting percentage hovering near 47% compared to Clark's 41%. Her scoring average slightly higher. Her turnovers slightly lower. But stats mean nothing without context. Clark's numbers came under relentless defensive pressure, under physical targeting that would have broken most rookies. Paige's numbers came against defenders giving her space, rotating late and letting her breathe. That 44-point night against the Sparks looked great, but anyone who watched knew the truth. The Sparks didn't play defense. Paige was allowed to play one-on-one all night. It was a scrimmage disguised as a game. Seattle was the reality check. 2 makes on 11 attempts, 0 assists. Suddenly, those percentages weren't proof of Polish. They were proof of a mirage. And when the lights burned brightest, the illusion shattered. What was left wasn't Caitlin Clark's equal. It was a young player still trying to find her footing. That's not an insult, that's reality. But reality has no patience for fake crowns. And Seattle exposed just how fragile the narrative around Paige really was. Basketball greatness isn't just about talent, it's about mentality. About how you respond when the game gets ugly, when defenders are in your face, when your shots aren't falling. Caitlin Clark thrives in chaos. She embraces it. She feeds off pressure, off physicality, off adversity. Every elbow, every shove, every hard foul is fuel. She doesn't just survive it, she weaponizes it. That's why even on nights when her shot is off, she still dictates. The game dropping dimes, creating tempo, pulling defenders out of position. Clark doesn't vanish. She adapts. She finds another way to break you. Paige Bueckers, on the other hand, wilted under that same treatment. When doubled, she gave up the ball and disappeared from the play. When blitzed, she didn't fight back. She faded. Her body language told the story, hesitant, unsure, almost waiting for someone else to rescue the possession. That's not superstar DNA. That's a player still searching for resilience. That's not the assassin mentality that separates the good from the great, fans noticed. They saw Clark stare down pressure like it was oxygen, while Bueckers shrank under it. And once you've seen that contrast on the floor, no amount of media spin can convince you otherwise. This is where the anger comes in. Fans aren't upset with Paige Bueckers for being human. They're upset with the machine that tried to force her into a role she wasn't ready for. They're angry at the headlines, the endless segments, the glossy promos that painted her as Clark's equal when the evidence never backed it up. The media wanted a rivalry. They wanted a counterweight to Clark. They wanted a narrative they could sell, because one superstar wasn't enough for them. They needed balance. So they built Paige up as Caitlin 2.0 without ever asking if she was ready to carry that weight, without waiting to see if she could even handle the grind of the pros. But rivalries can't be manufactured. Greatness can't be faked. You can't crown the next Serena Williams, the next Tiger Woods, the next LeBron James before they've proven anything. Those players aren't built by headlines, they're built by fire, by scars, by nights when the crowd is against you. The shots don't fall when the only thing keeping you alive is willpower. And Caitlin Clark has already proven she's fired. She has been through the gauntlet. She has survived the doubters, the critics, the cheap shots, and the constant noise. Every time people said she couldn't, she showed them she could. That's the difference. Paige was handed a crown. Clark forged hers. The Seattle game didn't just expose Paige, it exposed the narrative. Fans saw it. Social media exploded. Memes, posts, and clips spread like wildfire. The comments weren't kind. So this is the air. This is who EA told us was better than Clark. And it wasn't just trolls or haters. Even longtime WNBA fans, analysts, and casual viewers chimed in. The eye test doesn't lie. Clark has been double-teamed, shoved, knocked to the floor, and still found ways to deliver. Bueckers, on the other hand, shrank when the lights were brightest. The moment the pressure hit, the hype deflated like a balloon. Meanwhile, Clark's games continued to sell out arenas, her jerseys continued to fly off shelves, and her highlights dominated every sports feed. She didn't need ESPN to force the narrative. Her play spoke for itself. Fans know the truth when they see it, and they saw it in Seattle. They saw the difference between hype and history, between a player made by headlines and a player made by fire. The difference is clear. Caitlin Clark is a generational talent. She doesn't just score points, she changes the game. She doesn't just sell tickets, she elevates the entire league. Paige Bueckers, she's a good player, a talented scorer, someone with potential to grow. But she's not Clark, and pretending otherwise does a disservice not only to fans, but to women's basketball itself. When the Storm exposed her, they didn't just hand her a bad game. They tore down a narrative that never should have been built. One game doesn't define a career. Clark has already proven herself on the biggest stage, handling pressure, breaking records, and carrying the weight of expectation. Bueckers, while skilled, has yet to show that same fire when the spotlight burns brightest. That's the difference. And in sports, the difference between good and great isn't small, it's everything. August 22, 2025 should go down in WNBA history, not as Paige Bueckers' coronation, but as the night the hoax collapsed. The night the media's manufactured narrative crumbled in front of millions. The night fans saw the difference between hype and history. Because here's the truth, there is no next Caitlin Clark. There is Caitlin Clark, and then there is everybody else. And Paige Bueckers just learned that the hard way